Base launch trajectory countdown. Pad is clear.
10, 9, 8.
Launch auto sequence has started.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Go for launch.
Vehicle is supersonic.
Stage separation confirmed. Dragon, separation confirmed. Stage 1 is transonic. Landing legs have deployed. And Falcon 9 has landed.
Welcome to the webcast for SpaceX's first Bandwagon mission, a new line of rideshare missions that will deliver spacecraft to mid-inclination orbits. The Falcon 9 that you see on your screen is currently scheduled to lift off just about 11 minutes from now from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Now, hello everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Shiva. I'm a space operations engineer here at SpaceX, and I'll be your host as we follow this Falcon 9 for its 14th flight to deliver 11 spacecraft to orbit for 6 different customers. Now, at the very top of the satellite stack sits our primary payload for the South Korean Defense Acquisition Program Administration. This is our second launch in support of the Korea 425 project. Our first launch for this project was the Korea 425 mission in December of last year. The 425 project will provide domestic Earth observation capabilities to the Republic of Korea. Now, our other rideshare customers today are HawkEye 360, Tyvak International, iQPS, Capella Space, and Tata Advanced Systems Limited. To date, SpaceX has launched nearly 1,000 small sats for customers, for 130 different customers across our entire rideshare program. And as the demand for rideshare missions continues to rise, our rideshare program was expanded to accommodate even more small satellites looking for rides to orbit. Now, while our transporter rideshare missions launch into what's called a sun-synchronous orbit, the launching into mid-inclination orbits fills gaps for our customers that wish to expand their coverage or complete unique objectives. Mid-inclinations offer higher revisit rates, meaning the time between flyovers of the same point is faster than what we see with other orbits. Now, rideshare missions significantly increase the access to space for small satellite operators around the world, so we're excited to be able to offer these launch opportunities for our customers. Now, we're currently working towards a T0 or launch time of 7:16 Eastern. That's about 9 minutes from now. The weather is looking great for today's opportunity, and the range is ready to support. We have a very low probability of violation, with the primary concern being watching potential cloud formation along the ascent corridor. Now, if for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow at the same time. It is worth mentioning that we will be ending our webcast with the launch of with the landing of our first stage today, and that's at the request of our customers. Now, Falcon 9 that's supporting today's mission is a 2-stage rocket. It's designed for reliable and safe transportation of satellites, cargo, and people. At the very top of the rocket is the payload fairing. The fairing is a protective shell that houses all of the spacecraft and shields them from the aerodynamic heating and mechanical stresses that happen as we ride through the Earth's atmosphere. The aerodynamic shape of the fairing also contributes to Falcon 9's overall efficiency, reducing drag as we accelerate through the lower parts of the Earth's atmosphere. But once we get to the vacuum of space, those two fairing halves separate, expose the payloads within, and then those fairing halves will fall back to Earth, where we recover them to be refurbished and reused on future flights. Right below the fairing, we've got our second stage. That has a single Merlin vacuum or MVAC engine, and that'll ignite shortly after stage separation to take our payloads to their target orbits. Now, below the second stage, we've got that black carbon fiber inner stage. In that is the Merlin vacuum's nozzle. And the inner stage is what connects the two stages and also houses the center pusher mechanism that separates the first and second stages around 2.5 minutes into flight. Now, below the inner stage, we've got our first stage. That's also referred to as the booster. The booster makes up the bottom 2/3 of the vehicle. It's got 9 Merlin 1D engines at its base, and those engines do the bulk of the work to get Falcon 9 off the ground from the launch pad into the thinner parts of the Earth's atmosphere. About 2.5 minutes into the flight, the stages will separate. The first stage will make its way back to Earth, and it'll be attempting a land landing at your screen, number 1 far. Now, as I mentioned, the 14th flight for this booster, if it's successful, the landing will mark SpaceX's 294th landing of an orbital class rocket.
RP1 load is complete.
We are just about T-minus 6 minutes from liftoff, all systems continuing to look healthy for an on-time liftoff. Next up, in about T-minus 2 minutes, we've got the strongback retract. So strongback, you can see it here on the right-hand side of the vehicle, also called the transporter erector, is that truss structure to the right of the vehicle. It gets the fluids and electrical power and also gets Falcon 9 out to the launch pad and into the launch position. Now, while we are waiting for strongback retract, let's talk about what it takes to get to an orbit. For any rocket and its payload to get into any orbit, the rocket not only has to go up from the ground, but then we have to start going sideways very quickly. As we ascend, we tilt the engines, that's called gimbaling, and that begins to move the rocket horizontally away from the launch site. Newton actually imagined this when he was determining how gravity would work, with the idea being firing a cannonball from the side of the planet and shooting it faster and faster and faster until it actually went all the way around the Earth. So the forces of gravity are trying to pull that cannonball back down towards Earth, but if you shoot it fast enough, it'll keep going around and eventually make it all the way around the planet. And that's basically what we're trying to do with Falcon 9, except we're using our rocket engines to do so. Now, if you pay attention during the launch today, you'll see Falcon 9 from our ground track views, and you'll see it gimbaling away from the launch pad. Coming up, next major milestone.
Strongback retract has started.
There's the call out there for strongback retract starting. So the first activity as part of the strongback retract is we will see the clamp arms opening around the top of the second stage. Here's a great shot of the clamp arms. So fairing at the very top there, there's the clamp arms opening. We'll see the strongback recline away a few degrees from Falcon 9, clearing the way for it to attempt liftoff here in just about 4 minutes. Next major milestone, we'll hear some callouts here for propellant loading on both the first and second stages. Falcon 9 uses liquid oxygen as our oxidizer, and then RP1 kerosene, which is a type of kerosene, as our fuel. So we combust those in our Merlin engines and then exhaust that out the back of the vehicle, and that's what provides the thrust to Falcon 9. Both of those are loaded at extremely cold temperatures, and so to avoid or to keep those propellants as dense as possible and as cool as possible, we load them late in the launch count.
Stage 1 LOX load is complete.
That call out indicating that liquid oxygen loading is complete on the first stage, so we've
Strongback retract complete.
Fully filled up the bottom portion of the vehicle up to that black inner stage, continuing to load propellants on the white portion or the second stage above the inner stage. And then a similar call out there was just made that the strongback retract is complete. So that means we are in the launch configuration for the transporter erector. Continuing to track good weather for today's attempt. Range continuing to look green, and the payloads continuing to look healthy for today's launch opportunity.
Stage 2 LOX float is complete.
So that call out indicating we are fully loaded with propellants, liquid oxygen, and our RP1 propellant fuel on the first stage. We'll see some venting of the lines from the transporter erector. You can see that there. That's totally normal. We're clearing those lines out ahead of our launch. Next major milestone at T-minus 60 seconds. That's when Falcon 9 will transition into startup. What that means is that the flight computers on board the vehicle will have full control of the launch countdown. That coming up at T-minus 60 seconds, and then around T-minus 45 seconds, we'll hear the final go for launch from the launch director for today's launch attempt.
Falcon 9 is in startup.
So with that, Falcon 9 is in full autonomous control of today's launch. Let's listen in for the launch director.
Go for launch.
And that call out indicating that the ground team is ready for today's launch attempt. Weather, payloads, and the range all looking great. Let's watch
T-minus 30 seconds.
as Falcon 9 lifts off to space today.
$15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. Engines full power and lift off of Bandwagon-1 and ADD 425. Go Falcon, go SpaceX.
Vehicles pitching downrange.
T-plus 30 seconds into flight, successful liftoff of Falcon 9 on the Bandwagon-1 mission, carrying 11 customer satellites into orbit today.
Nominal power and telemetry.
We're lifting off from Launch Complex 39A at the Kennedy Space Center, currently throttling down those Merlin 1D engines in preparation for maximum
Vehicle
aerodynamic
supersonic.
pressure. That's, or max Q, that's the point of highest stresses on the vehicle during ascent.
Max Q.
With that, we are through the highest stresses on the vehicle. Falcon 9 will throttle back up those Merlin 1D engines in preparation for the next major milestone. So coming up in about 45 seconds, we'll have several events in quick succession. The first of those will be MECO, or main engine cutoff. That's where all of those Merlin 1D engines will shut down on the first stage. Then we'll have the stage separation. The first stage, or the booster, is going to do a flip maneuver. While that's happening, the second stage is going to ignite its Merlin vacuum engine, and then the first stage is going to start its boost back burn to go towards landing zone 1 to attempt that landing. So MECO, stage separation, the flip maneuver, second engine start, and then boost back burn.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
And back ignition.
Stage 1, boost back startup.
Awesome views on the lower right there. That was the second stage heading off to orbit. We've got a tracking shot here of the first stage doing its boost back burn. This tracking view from the ground, looking back at this first stage. Again, it's 14th flight today, so we're looking for its 14th landing attempt at landing zone number 1. And this is a view from the cameras on board the first stage. We're looking at a shot down towards the engines.
Confirmed.
You can see the grid fins here. Those will deploy shortly after the boost back burn completes. And a reminder, the second stage is continuing on its mission, but at the request of our customer, we won't be showing any second stage views today. So we're just going to keep focused on the great views we have of the first stage. So what you're seeing here periodically are some white gas coming out of the first stage. On the right-hand box on your screen are the grid fins deploying. We use the aerodynamic grid fins to get the first stage back towards our landing site. They have aerodynamic control of the vehicle once we get into the Earth's atmosphere. Those white plumes that you're seeing are of an attitude control gas. We use, those are referred to as cold gas thrusters. So we have some gas stored on the vehicle. And since there isn't very much atmospheric force this high up in the atmosphere, we have to give ourselves little puffs of thrust to orient the vehicle, get the heat shield pointed down, and get the vehicle in the entry attitude to come back towards landing zone 1. Great shots of planet Earth. Again, the camera on the right-hand side of your screen now is actually looking up through the inner stage. So we're looking into that carbon fiber inner stage. That's where the second stage was previously. And on the left-hand side of your screen, we've got a ground tracking shot of the first stage making its way back towards landing zone 1, not too far from the launch site at Kennedy Space Center. Now we're coming up on the entry burn for the first stage. So there are 2 burns that we do here. There's an entry burn where we turn on just a few of Falcon 9's engines. That's to slow down as we start getting back towards the atmosphere and start to pick up some heating on the vehicle. And then the second of those burns is much closer to landing.
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
So here's the first of those burns, the entry burn. This burn lasting just about 20 or so seconds.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
Stage 1 FTSO saved.
And there is successful shutdown of the entry burn. So now the next major burn will be the landing burn. That'll happen just before landing. We'll ignite just a single Merlin engine. The landing legs will deploy, and then hopefully we'll have a soft touchdown at landing zone 1. You can see it starting to come into focus here on the view on the right-hand side of your screen, heading towards landing zone 1.
Stage 1 transonic. Stage 1 landing burn.
Stage 2 FTSO saved.
And there's the startup of the single center Merlin engine for landing burn. We'll see the the landing legs deploy here.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
And there is successful landing of our first stage.
Stage 1
That
landing
marks for
confirmed.
the 14th landing on this particular booster, 294th landing of an orbital class rocket. We also heard a call out there for
Nominal orbit
second
insertion.
engine cutoff and then nominal orbit insertion. So that means the second stage is well on its way for the rest of our mission. But with our first stage landed, that's going to bring our webcast coverage to a close for today. If you're interested in learning more about today's payloads and the deployments, please head to our customers' websites to find out more information. And we want to thank all of our rideshare customers today for their support on today's mission, all of our viewers for tuning in. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you for the next one.